The Don't Ask, Don't Tell policy. Conceived in 1993 by the Clinton administration, gay military personnel are technically allowed to serve their country, but only if they lie about their sexual orientation. Disclosing that you're gay, saying it, counts as homosexual conduct and is grounds for dismissal. It is the enunciated policy of the Obama administration that Don't Ask, Don't Tell is wrong and it should be repealed. Exactly when President Obama will take any sort of action to back up that position remains to be seen. Tonight, there is brand new news, tangible evidence of President Obama's personal stance on the issue. This past January, U.S. Army Second Lieutenant Sandy Zhao announced to her military chain of command that she is gay. On the same day that she violated Don't Ask, Don't Tell, she wrote a letter to the White House urging President Obama to repeal the ban and expressing to him her fear that she would be kicked out of the military as a result of her decision to come out. This week, President Obama personally responded to Lieutenant Zhao's letter with a handwritten note of his own. It reads, quote, "Sandy, thanks for the wonderful and thoughtful letter. It is because of outstanding Americans like you that I committed to changing our current policy, although it will take some time to complete, partly because it needs congressional action. I intend to fulfill my commitment." And it is signed Barack Obama. Personal commitment from the president or not, Lieutenant Zhao's career has just been ended. She has been informed that she'll be discharged from the military as of May 19th. Over the past 15 years, Don't Ask, Don't Tell has led to the dismissal of around 12,500 members of the United States Armed Forces. And as of right now, it is still U.S. law under Commander-in-Chief Barack Obama. On March 19th, on this program, I interviewed U.S. Army Lieutenant Daniel Choi. Lieutenant Choi is a West Point grad. He's an Iraq combat veteran. He's an Arabic language specialist, and he is a founding member of the organization Nights Out, which is a group of West Point grads who have announced that they are gay or lesbian. Lieutenant Choi is now in the National Guard. Here's what he told this program on March 19th.
I am an infantry platoon leader in the New York Army National Guard, and by saying 3 words to you today, I am gay, those 3 words are a violation of Title 10 of the U.S. Code.
This week, those 3 words cost Dan Choi his military career as well. He has received a letter from the U.S. Army informing him that he is being dismissed. It says in part, quote, "This is to inform you that sufficient basis exists to initiate action for withdrawal of federal recognition in the Army National Guard for moral or professional dereliction. Specifically, you admitted publicly that you are a homosexual, which constitutes homosexual conduct. Your actions negatively affected the good order and discipline of the New York Army National Guard." Joining us now for his first interview since being informed of his dismissal is U.S. Army First Lieutenant Daniel Choi. Lieutenant Choi, thank you so much for coming back on the show. It's nice to see you.
Good to see you face to face, yeah.
You knew there was a very good possibility that by coming out publicly on this show, you would get kicked out of the military. But I have to ask what your reaction was when you actually got the letter this week.
Well, when I got the letter, I was extremely angry. I mean, the letter is basically saying, bottom line, Lieutenant Dan Choi, you're fired. You're a West Point graduate, you're fired. You're an Arabic linguist, you're fired. You deployed to Iraq, you're willing to deploy again, doesn't matter. Because you're gay, that's enough grounds to kick you out. But the biggest thing that I'm angry about is what it says about my unit. It says that my unit suffered negative good order, and the negative actions and good order and discipline suffered. That's a big insult to my unit. I mean, all the insult that the letter can do, to say that I'm worthy of being fired, that's nothing compared to saying that my unit is not professional enough, that my unit doesn't deserve to have a leader that is willing to deploy, that has skills to contribute.
In terms of the good order and discipline allegation, what has been the reaction that you got from your fellow troops, from your unit, after you told them that you're gay? Was there upset? Was there discord? Were there any negative consequences to your ability to function as a group?
Right. 2 weeks after I appeared on the show, we had National Guard training. Basically, we went marksmanship qualification. We shot our rifles, and I was leading some of the training as officer in charge, telling them to cease fire or fire. And I thought for 4 days, nobody was saying anything, so maybe they don't watch TV or maybe they don't read the Army Times. But at the end of the training, so many people came up to me my peers, my subordinates, people that outrank me, folks that have been in the Army, and this is an infantry unit, infantrymen that coming up to me and saying, hey sir, hey Lieutenant Choi, we know and we don't care. What we care about is that you can contribute to the team. And what leaders do is they look to see how can they make the best team before they go to war. That's what they care about.
Dan, what recourse do you have now? Do you plan to challenge this?
Well, the letter says that I can basically do a couple of things. I can resign right now and get an honorable discharge, or I can fight it. I intend fully to fight it tooth and nail. I believe that don't ask, don't tell is wrong. And what we really need to be encouraging soldiers to is to don't lie, don't hide, don't discriminate, and don't weaken the military. That's what we need to be promoting.
Lieutenant Dan Choi, stay with us just for a moment. I want to bring into the conversation Congressman Joe Sestak. He's a Democrat of Pennsylvania. He is a retired U.S. Navy Rear Admiral. He's the highest-ranking former military officer to serve in Congress. Congressman Sestak, thank you so much for joining us tonight.
It's good to be here, Rachel.
What is your reaction to Lieutenant Choi's impending dismissal from the Army as a result of Don't Ask, Don't Tell?
First, Lieutenant, thanks for your service to our nation. And I think this is indicative of the kind of quality of man and woman that we have lost. Look, I went to war. And we knew by surveys that when I went to war that we had a certain percentage in that carrier battle group. And when I was on the ground briefly in Afghanistan, that we're gay. And now we come back to America and say they don't have equal rights. I've never understood it. This is something where we have to correct this. It's just not right. I can remember being out there in command, and someone would come up to you and start to tell you, and you just want to say, no, I don't want to lose you. You're too good. Congress, with this president, needs to act upon this. I have appreciated that the president is rightly focused on economic security and now with his budget, but I believe this summer or early this fall that we need to correct this.
When the president says, Admiral Sestak, when he says that it could be slow going in part because it has to move through Congress, and again, we know this because he wrote it in a handwritten letter to somebody who's currently being kicked out of the military, as Lieutenant Choi is, he's essentially saying that Congress will be part of the reason that this needs to go slow. But you're saying that this could actually happen quite quickly.
I think it could, yes. I think the president, as commander-in-chief, needs to be the one that says to the military, and I understand what Secretary Gates said recently about their plates kind of full. That's not the Defense Department's decision. This is the commander-in-chief's decision to say we need to change it, which he has. I'd like to see us move it by this summer, and I think we can. We had hearings a year ago, and I'm a co-sponsor of the bill, and I testified at it, but we never got it out of committee. But I honestly believe with this particular president, let's just re-emphasize that everyone is created equal.
Do you think, Congressman Sestak, do you think that as an interim step, if it can't be done by the summer, if it can't be done sometime soon for some reason, do you think that the president could order the military to stop investigating whether people are gay? Just stop implementing the policy for now until it can be reviewed, until Congress has a chance to decide if they're going to act on the matter. Would that be wise?
I'm not sure. The reason I only say this is we are a nation of laws. And in this last administration, we saw executive actions that seem to bend, if not break, those laws. And even though it's for the right reason right now, I'd like to see us take this on right now, begin the process. And I know there's several of us veterans here, Patrick Murphy, Eric Massa, myself, warriors, veterans, like the lieutenant, that want to, as Ellen Tauscher, who is the primary mover of this, goes off to the State Department, that we can pick it up as co-sponsors and hopefully rapidly move it. If it's a law, I think we should do it by due process. It's not that I don't want the president to do it the other way, but the last lessons that we've learned the last 8 years, let's do it, and we should be doing it.
Before we go, I want to bring back in Lieutenant Daniel Choi into this conversation. Dan, when you hear Admiral Sestak there say that he thinks this could be done this summer and that Congress could do it, maybe the president could do it on his own, but Congress ought to do it because it's the right way to do it and it's the straightforward way to do it. How do you feel about that?
Well, I'm not a politician myself. I just, like so many thousands of others, gay and lesbian, that are in the Army, that are in the armed forces, raised their right hand. They said, we're in a time of war right now. It's not about what timing is good or bad. It's not about what you want to do. It's about what your responsibility is. And we're saying that we're standing up to our responsibility, and we're saying we want to serve.
U.S. Army Lieutenant Daniel Choi, Democratic Congressman, and retired Rear Admiral Joe Sestak, thank you both very much.